Hello, welcome to Alive to Thrive OT. I'm Lauren Lyman.
And I'm Tracy Schnabel.
And today we're talking about boundary setting for better health. But before we get started, we want to tell you that we are two occupational therapists who noticed a gap in the healthcare system. We're here to help you bridge that gap, help you be the best version of yourself that you can be. We did all the research for you, and now we want to share it with you so that we can improve society. So before we get started, we have a legal disclaimer. This is for informational purposes only. If you have any specific medical concerns, please consult with your medical provider. We do not have any warranties or representations, so please proceed at your own risk. And if you have a medical emergency, please call 911 immediately. So Tracy, let's talk about 4 benefits of setting boundaries for your health.
Okay, so boundaries are a thing that I think is a really good step in the right direction for improving your emotional well-being. They're not talked about a lot, so that's why I wanted to talk about it on our YouTube station. Sometimes, in our households, and well, this is probably a lot of us, there sometimes is not healthy boundary setting, so we're not observing people, our parents, moms and dads, whoever are raising us, setting good boundaries and showing good relationship boundaries and what that looks like, so we don't have that visualization of what we should be doing and what's right and what's not right. And then there's, I think we've kind of talked about this before, is there's people that are empaths, so very empathetic people that are always concerned about the empath people. They are really concerned about the well-being of others, which that's a really good thing to have a healthy society. But an empathic person or a giving person, that could often be in a lot of giving professions like nursing, social work, occupational therapy, teaching. They have to learn to also care about themselves as well, because you can only give when you have your cup full. And if you keep emptying, eventually you will not be able to give anymore. And that could create problems for you and others. And then also just sometimes like people pleasing. A lot of us, I know we're kind of taught this in school, to be accepted in the team projects and the team sports and in general. So sometimes we try to get people to like us, but I found out later in life, it's actually, you should be wondering if you like them. We shouldn't be trying to please so much. We should, your vibe attracts your tribe. So you really should be looking for people that match your frequency and that, are also doing something to help you. So
we're so focused on everybody else in the outside that sometimes we forget to look inside.
Yeah, so we should never be sacrificing our well-being just to get people to like us, because then they're not even really liking us anyways. They're just liking this archetype that we showed them, and that's how we have superficial relationships and not meaningful ones. So yeah, these are tips for, if you're not really sure if you're not good at establishing boundaries or not, if you have a lot of unhealthy relationships, if you're noticing people take advantage of you very easily, if you're unhappy in a lot of your relationships, it's probably related to boundaries. If you feel like you're always putting yourself last, if you feel like you shouldn't put yourself first, these are all emotions and feelings that come from not having established healthy boundaries. So if you fall into any of these categories, if you're constantly having conflicts with people, there are ways to resolve that. It could be that you don't have healthy boundaries, or that someone in your life doesn't have healthy boundaries, or both. So check out this video and share it with other people in your life, or teach them the strategies too, so that you can improve all of your relationships and be happier. So number 1, boundaries allow you to be your true self. And a lot of what we're trying to teach here is empowerment and being authentic and being yourself. Some, like what I was just saying before, if you are trying to be something for everybody else and never really being true to who you are, then how are you going to be happy? There's going to be an incongruency, right, between like who you are and what people see, and then you're never really going to feel like anybody knows you or could really support you, because no one even knows who you are. So it's really important to be yourself for all kinds of reasons, and that's one of the benefits of boundaries, is it allows you to be your true self. Boundaries, number 2, they form self-care. So they teach you to take care of yourself. So you have to realize, and we were talking about this the other day, you're not responsible for how other people feel, and you're not responsible for other people's health. So a lot of times, like people and households, again, we were talking about in households, sometimes there wasn't a good modeling of healthy behaviors, but also sometimes there's enabling, sometimes in alcoholic households or where parents aren't able to fully be parents, the child becomes the parent. So then the child often feels like they have an over sense of responsibility for everyone in their life. So you're not responsible for other people's well-being. Go ahead, Lauren.
In my Psych 101 class, I always remember this. The teacher, we get into the classroom and he's playing Aretha Franklin's song, You Make Me Feel. And everyone's just kind of like, okay, like, I guess he's listening to music. But it was part of our lecture. And he said that this song is wrong, that you can't make somebody feel anything because there's a series of there's a process that goes on between, what you do and how the person feels. And in order for your action to produce a feeling, it has to be interpreted by the other person. And that interpretation causes the feeling, not your action. So not saying that you're not responsible for your actions, you want to act in accordance with your values and in an appropriate way, but if you feel that you are acting in an appropriate way and you are acting in accordance with your values and that's not well received, it may not be your issue. It may be the other person's, family dynamic, what they were taught as a child, trauma that they had, or whatever it is. It may be them and not you. So don't take on all the responsibility for other people's feelings. Take on some, because if you're a jerk, you need to own up to that. Yeah. But if you don't feel that you did anything wrong, you can try to work that out with the other person, but ultimately those feelings are their own and not yours.
Yeah, and sometimes we just over worry about everything, about how others feel, and instead of placing accountability on the individual. So let's say somebody did something wrong and they might be like, oh, they might think that, I'm too sensitive, or they might think, oh, I'm attacking them, or they might think, oh, I feel so bad about myself now because people are telling me negative feedback, or they might internalize it as negative when you're just giving them direct feedback. That's not for you to take on, okay? That person is responsible for managing and regulating their own feelings. So if they did something that's not right, you just need, all your job is to tell them. And that really is your job, to honor yourself, is to let people know if there's something that's not right.
And it shows respect for the relationship too, that, hey, this is a problem. If we keep stuffing it and shoving it under the rug, it's going to develop into a larger problem. I respect our relationship enough to say, hey, I'm noticing this problem. And then the other person needs to respect the relationship enough to try to work towards resolving it, rather than being like, oh, well, you're just being sensitive, or, oh, you're attacking me, or, oh, you don't like me. And then you start playing on your emotions. You start to feel guilty then. So, just taking responsibility when you need to, but not being forced to take responsibility when it's not yours.
And I think this is a side note, but it forms trust between you and the other person, because I can trust that you'll come to me if you have a problem, and I can trust that I can come to you, and that we can exchange ideas and different things without it having to be, the end of a relationship or a big blow up, So, I think that it's really important, and really it can help develop the relationship further, even though that's counterculture as well, where we think if we present something that's a problem, it's going to create a big catastrophe. So it shouldn't, if you have a good relationship. And if they aren't able to respond, then you might have to think about not engaging in that relationship anymore, but at least make an attempt to be mature and to talk about the things that are a problem and work through them if you can.
It's kind of like what we were talking, Tracy was talking about this in another video that we've recorded, talking about whether you have like a growth mindset or a static mindset. So if the person has it's called static, right?
Fixed.
The same thing. If the person has a fixed mindset, then They may not be receptive to any feedback, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't give it or you shouldn't try. That's, again, you can't make them do something, you can't make them feel something, but you can do your part. So if you do your part, now it's up to them to do their part. And if they have a fixed mindset, they may not even be capable of doing that. And that's when you kind of have to really establish those boundaries, because otherwise you're going to be taking part in a relationship that's not healthy. So if you keep a growth mindset, turning it around on you now, if someone gives you feedback and you have that growth mindset of, I can do better, then that's healthy, because now you're like, I want to do better because this relationship is important to me. And then you're going to start changing, or at least trying, making an effort to change your behavior. But if you have that fixed mindset, you're just going to be like, well, this is who I am and you're not accepting me, and that's not going to get you anywhere. So unfortunately, a lot of people have that fixed mindset. You're going to come across it. So you need to know how to establish boundaries to protect yourself and be healthy.
Yeah. And then number 3, create realistic expectations. So clearly communicate your boundaries and what you expect. So, like if a boundary is, I will not engage in an argument where your voice is elevated. I will not talk to you when you are yelling. That's like a good boundary. Or, I will never allow anything to get physical. That's a boundary. Or I will not allow negative talk. That's a boundary. I think a lot of us accept like people saying negative things a lot, and if that doesn't feel good, like if you test it on a scale of 0 to 10 and say my discomfort with what they just said is an 8, then you probably need to be saying, I don't like when you say this. So that's important, just to create expectations and communicate them, because not everybody will know that that's how you feel.
Plus, when people are angry, they kind of just act, and they're not really, their filter isn't fully turned on, right? They're not really thinking about what they're saying. But holding that person responsible, like, hey, when you're mad, you say really hurtful things, and that harms our relationship.
Yeah, and if people don't respect what you're saying, you don't have to sit. Another huge thing that helped me is you don't have to sit there and keep engaging. You don't have to stay on the line in the conversation. You don't have to stay there. You can be like, okay, I've told you I don't want you to raise your voice, or I've told you this. I'm not going to continue the conversation right now. And that's okay. Wow.
Come back to it. Yeah. That's not the same as being like, okay, let's give it a couple days, and once things blow over, we'll talk again, and then everything will be fine. That is not the same. But it's saying like, hey, my boundary is, you're talking to me, you're being a little verbally abusive, and that's a boundary I have. I'm not okay with this. Yeah. When you calm down, call me and we'll talk.
Yeah. And then number 4, what boundaries can do for you is they can create safety. So, physical, emotional, and spiritual safety. So when you create boundaries, like we're saying, like, I will never allow something to get physical. I will not allow you to talk negatively. I'm physical and emotional boundaries. And then also when you just set boundaries in general, that creates safety spiritually, because then you're not allowing things to get so bad within you that maybe, like, some people allow people to hurt them so bad that they shut down and they stop wanting to be around people altogether. So when you set boundaries, it allows you to be safe and protect all your different systems, so that you can live life with joy instead of with resentment. Because sometimes when we don't have boundaries set, we carry hurt and resentment around with us. And then how can you really feel joy if you're carrying those things?
And a lot of times people think that boundaries are just for kids. Boundaries are the foundation of a relationship. So it's not just for children. Yes, you need to have love and respect and dedication, whatever, but you also need to have boundaries. And it's important to know each other's boundaries, because everyone has different boundaries, and it's not the same for everybody. It's not one size fits all. So it's important to communicate those boundaries so that you can prevent problems. So it's healthy for your relationship. It's good for both parties, all parties involved. It's not selfish in a bad sense. It's taking care of yourself and fostering a healthy relationship.
Yeah, so like to certain people that they might have a completely different boundary about how they talk to people. Some people may think it's okay to like cuss at each other and to be like kind of demeaning, and then other people may not even allow like, you know, anything similar to that. They don't think any of that's okay. So you really just need to open up a conversation and let the person know. And then if boundary setting is difficult for you, I would always recommend, you know, there's tons of books out there. There's also, you know, therapy addresses boundary setting. Just be proactive about finding ways to set boundaries, and I think you'll feel a lot more empowered and peaceful, have the peace that maybe you didn't have before.
And also check out our video on hurt people hurting people, and we'll put a link to it at the end, because it's important to note too that you may be doing everything right and you may be establishing your boundaries and it's not working. And that may happen sometimes. So that kind of explains to you what's going on with the other person, why these boundaries are not working, and what you may need to ultimately do to protect yourself. So check out that video as well, and I think it'll tie in really nicely with this one. So please like our video, subscribe to our channel, sign up for alerts so that you know when we post new videos, which happens every Tuesday typically. Visit us at Facebook, www.facebook.com/Lauren and Tracy. If you need any coaching on boundaries, I'm happy to help on a one-on-one basis, or with a couple or a parent and a child, whatever. I am a holistic health and wellness coach, so anything that you need, please email me. Or visit my website, and that's listed on the bottom here. And then I also offer free 30-minute consultations. So if you're not sure if I'm the right fit or anything, we can figure that out, and there's really nothing to lose. So why not? If you need help with your energy systems, Tracy is certified in Reiki. She can help you with that. And anything else, just send us an email at alive2thriveot@gmail.com.
And as usual, we are wishing you physical, spiritual, and emotional well-being. Thank you so much for being here. See you next time.